Already Tuesday, the challenge Black Dusk Cloud, no command banks, hitting UI, and weaker Medkits. So it's no command banks on Black Dusk, which is not exactly the best combination since ideally we'd be able to carry a bit more since we've got that much to carry, and even though we could technically just, well, grab all of these over here, it's not really the best way of doing it since we could just leave that over there to make things easier later on, and then afterwards just grab a few Medkits over here. And of course, because we have a dumper, breach that over there, before we join up over here and take care of the Juggernaut that's going to show up over here, which we don't really want to deal with. And before this Juggernaut over here starts running towards the power box and starts causing some problems, we're going to... It's not a power box, it's just a panel, but it carries the same sentiment. It's just not very ideal if the Juggernaut starts running towards that while shooting at us with, let's just say, 100 bullets. But aside from that, there's any UI and Beacon Medkits, which doesn't really matter all that much, and Beacon Medkits will be able to help us a lot more if it weren't no coming back, since we would have an excessive amount of Medkits, which we kind of don't have right now. But I suppose in theory we could have, let's just say, 6 Medkits from the basement and another 2 in the armory, which would mean that we can very much freely spend it. It's just that it's not really the case over here. Or more likely we're just going to get maybe 1 Medkit in the basement and that's about it, or maybe just 0, which is entirely possible. It's just, why are you here? Right then, we're just gonna go through here instead, and then afterwards we're just gonna run through here. And then we're gonna breach that over there. And then once Cyber runs past, we're gonna just breach that over there, which... There might not be any specific reason, but just maybe there's gonna be some thermite downstairs, which means that we could start carrying things a bit earlier than we otherwise would, which is kind of what we want to do. So we're just gonna leave those 2 over there. We're gonna hop down over here, and I'm gonna say to you over there, which is quite simple, really. But now that that's sorted, we just have to wait for the units that are showing up right now to just stop showing up before we actually run away, since ideally we don't want Cyber getting shot, and since things are seemingly clear, we're just gonna go downstairs right now and then check for any thermite, or maybe some Medkits, which... Well, at the very least, we've got 4, and we've got 1 C4 over here, which means that we could just spend the thermite... We could just spend the dumper a lot more freely, since we could very well just breach both those later on, and then just use the C4 for... And then just use the C4 for the last one that we have to breach, which means that we could grab some F57s, which, you know, it's... Hi there, please kindly not. What is this? Right then, now that we've sorted out the last unit, we're just going to have Cyber finish breaching that as we stare to you over here, and, well, you over there. But now that this is breached over here, we're just going to run through here since that's a perfectly valid option, which is why we're going to take exactly that option. So, we're going to do that. Maybe that's going... Well, that makes things more convenient. We won't have to go into the basement. It's just that we kind of don't have any Medkits right now, so we still kind of would like to go into the basement, but we're going to run through here, and presumably we're going to not meet any units, which might be problematic, but that's kind of expected right now, so we're going to grab this one over here. And then we're going to grab this one over there, which is relatively simple. Hi there, you. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. And because it's weaker Medkits, we could just use the last 2 Medkits over here, which... I mean, it's slightly comedic and maybe not the best idea, but it's certainly working out, and well, we still have the 2 Medkits that we're currently carrying, which makes for some decent comedy, but I'm just gonna run away from the unit since that's the simple option right now. Because quite frankly, I don't want to deal with them. It's just how this works, so hopefully we won't meet any units as we go through here, and we should be healed up all the way right around now, so... Where's the screwdriver? You know what, it's alright, we could just take the slightly more complicated route of taking a drill, since we didn't actually keep track of where the screwdriver was, which is highly unfortunate, but then again, we're doing just fine right now, so it's not like it's anything to complain about. So we're just gonna go over here, we're gonna get this road open, and then afterwards we're just going to hopefully not get shot from behind, because that would be rather unfortunate. But right now, we're just gonna drop this over here, and then we're gonna grab our Medkits yet again, before we post up over here and say, I see you over there, you over there, you over there, and then presumably 1 more unit that might show up relatively soon, which means that that's you over there. And now that we're done with all of that, we're just gonna go through here, run through here, and then afterwards just spend the C4 that we have right over here, which That is the medkit. Let's spend a C4 instead of a medkit. So now that we finished detonating that, we kind of need to bring 2 explosives here, which means that we're going to drop a medkit over here. And then we're going to hopefully not meet any units as we run through here, which... I mean, ideally, things go absolutely fantastic over here, but that's not really guaranteed, so we're just going to run back through here. And then, well, so far we're going to not meet anyone, which is kind of exactly what we want. So we're going to run over here as Cyber gets shot vaguely over there, which might not be all that great, but so far it's not all that bad either. And then we're going to grab a medkit over here, and then afterwards just... Well, first of all, switch that around before we grab a CHA. Take care of you over there. You over there, and since I believe the last unit's going to be far, far away, we're just going to run through here because we maybe won't have to deal with them, which would be... Never mind, and they're right in front of us, which is, I suppose, perfectly valid. It's just a bit, well, unusual. Which I guess is fine. So we're just going to go over here. I could have grabbed the medkit. I really want to, but it's... Well, everything's clear right now, so maybe it is a good time to do so. So we're just going to go right over... Maybe not. Maybe, just maybe, it's a terrible time to go over there, but... For now, we could hop over here, grab the medkit over here, and then just run through here, which... is certainly an odd way of doing things, but it's... going decently well so far, so... We're just gonna grab the 2 explosives, and then we're just gonna go through here, and then hopefully not meet any units, well, anywhere along the way, which is kind of the idealistic scenario. So now that we've checked the area for any absolute lost medkits, which we don't actually have. Of course we don't actually have any of them. We're gonna plant these 2 over here. And then we're just... I'm going the other way, thank you very much. And then we're just gonna do that over there, which I guess it's... perfectly valid. It's just that we're still going to meet those units, and then we're going to grab this medkit over here since that's in a rather convenient location. And since Cyber has the last 2... Right then, so now that we've rather unusually cleared that over there, we're just going to grab these 2, and then afterwards, it's just a matter of waiting. Right in the open, which... That's great and all, but I'm going to heal up first. I'm not dealing with that CBRC, and I would ideally not have a few CBRCs later on, which would be the better case over here. So, right now, seemingly we have to run across the map and try and get the last one planted over there, which is a bit awkward, but never mind then. We won't have to do absolutely anything, and we could just run back through here, and then, well... have you just be absolutely, or anywhere else. So if you could just be quite literally anywhere else, that would be quite nice, so that we could just go through here, and then just wait up here. Hi there. Right then. I suppose we could grab that ammunition, which we are going to do, since we can, and that's really the only reason. We're going to... That is Cyber. And it seems that there's one more over there, which Cyber needs to go and obtain first before we could actually do, for that matter, anything. So, right now, we're just going to awkwardly... Hi there, please stop going after Cyber, especially with CBRCs. That's not really what we want here for staying alive, since that's not all that great for staying alive. Now, if you're going to step right over here, we're just going to do that. And... Hi there. Just gonna do this instead, since that seems a lot safer than walking right in front of the shotgunners, which... Considering I'm at half health is maybe not the... Hi there, everyone. Not really what I had in mind over here, but... We'll just go over here. We'll heal up over here, and then afterwards we're just going to... wait for that to happen so that we can just start moving over here, which means that we could only have 1 unit to deal with over here, which is... gonna make things a lot more simple, but seemingly the unit has disappeared to literally anywhere else, so that's, I suppose, something that we could do. So we're just going to hop down here since there's absolutely no one. And I suppose that, well, since there's absolutely no one, we're just going to clear all of this over here. Now, all of the units seem to be with Cyber right now, which is fine and all, but it's maybe not what we want, so we're gonna clear the unit over there. Hopefully not get shot from behind because that would be quite bad. And then all in all, hopefully, take care of the Onyx unit rather soon, which we are gonna hide right behind here since there's around 2 squads right behind that. But that's the daily challenge in just over 10 minutes. Cheers everyone, have a great time!